All the commissioners are present. The first item of business is the order of business, and I'm aware that there's at least one item that we'd want to add, and that is we'll make that item D, and reports will be item E under the non-timetable agenda. And the item D is the consideration to approve North Dakota DOT letter of understanding regarding the proposed truck route. And I think Commissioner Jackson and City Administrator Kessel will have more to say about that later. Do we have any other items that would impact the order of business? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the order of business with the one addition that I outlined.
So moved.
Second.
We have the motion, the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. That motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda you wish to discuss?
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have the motion, the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so the motion carries. Before we begin with item A under the non-timetable agenda, John Cameron is here from Senator Hoeven's office. Mr. Cameron is his western representative, and I think he has some good news to share with us. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I was planning to attend this meeting and hadn't anticipated this announcement that the Senator made today, but as you well know, the Senator has been very concerned and working on, along with your airport people, on trying to expand air service between Dickinson and other places. And today he made an announcement that United Airlines will begin twice daily nonstop service between Dickinson and Denver beginning June 6th. They'll be using operated by ExpressJet, using a 50-seat regional jet aircraft. As you well know, with only one carrier, it's been difficult for people to get in and out of Dickinson, and I know the Senator's been working very hard on this, and he's also working with other airlines as well to see if he can expand the service. But this is great news for the region, for the people of this part of the state, and especially for the citizens of Dickinson. So we're very happy to announce that, and I'm pleased to be here on his behalf tonight. So be happy to answer any questions if you might have any.
Any comments or questions? We certainly would like you to express to Senator Hoeven our thanks for the good work he's done here, and we really appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so item A then under the non-timetable agenda is to hear our year-end municipal court report, and Becky Weldon is here to do that. So, Ms. Weldon, welcome.
Mr. President, City Commissioners, my name is Becky Grant. I'm an associate attorney at Ebeltoft Sickler, and I've been working directly under City Attorney Matt Colling in managing the municipal prosecution contract for the past year. The purpose of the memorandum that we had previously submitted and this presentation is to update you on the status of the contract as we close the books on our first year of prosecution. As always, if you have any questions, please interrupt me as I go through the slides. As you are all aware, we began prosecuting for the City of Dickinson on January 1st, 2012. The last report, which would have been our third quarter report, was before this commission on November 5th, 2012. And currently we have opened and prosecuted over 835 files. As I've continually reported in 2012, we've been dealing with heightened criminal activity in Dickinson. This slide offers a comparison between the monthly totals of 2011 and 2012 for all 12 months. As a result of the heightened amount of citations being issued, also comes a higher amount of fines and fees being collected by municipal court. This slide again offers a comparison between 2011 and 2012 for all 12 months. The next few slides offer a comparison between the cumulative totals for 2011 and 2012. The first slide contains a comparison for administrative traffic citations. In 2011, 3,238 traffic citations were issued. In 2012, 3,839 traffic citations were issued. This next slide offers a comparison between the cumulative amount of criminal citations issued between 2011 and 2012. For 2011, there were 750 criminal citations issued. For 2012, there was 1,258.
Ms. Grant, can you give some examples of some of the more common criminal citations that are issued?
Sure. Probably the most common are DUIs and driving under suspension charges. This also includes domestic violence citations, disorderly conduct citations, but the criminal traffic are probably the most common.
Okay, thank you.
This final slide offers a comparison between the cumulative fines and fees generated by municipal court between 2011 and 2012. For 2011, $198,835.62. For 2012, $363,772.18. Continue to handle municipal prosecution matters by appearing in court 3 times per week. Our scheduled court times and the type of appearances are listed on the slide. Our firm has handled 15 bench trials since we took over the contract on January 1st. We were able to obtain convictions in all but 2 of those trials. On this slide, it notes that we have a jury trial scheduled for this Friday on a DUI and reckless driving charges. That actually has since settled about an hour before I came over here. The defendant agreed to plead to both charges. The one on February 15th for a reckless driving charge is still scheduled to go. Our firm has also recently handled several suppression hearings, which were scheduled as a result of a defense attorney filing written motions alleging there was some illegal conduct by the arresting officer. Last week we were successful in defending one of those motions when Judge Greenwood issued an order to that effect. Right now we're currently responding to another suppression motion that was filed late last week. I've continued to provide information to the Commission on the remand process that we initiated in January of 2012. If any of the members of the Commission have questions on that process, I'd be happy to go through it again. In 2012, we remanded 144 cases. Those remanded cases generated $63,565 for the City of Dickinson. Currently, we're reviewing several criminal complaint requests that have been submitted by officers, and we hope to have charging determinations on those by the end of the week. And with that, that concludes my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Any comments or questions? Okay, well, we appreciate your efforts on behalf of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to item B. We have some offer letters that Mr. Kessel would like to highlight, so go ahead.
Thank you, President Johnson. Commission, this evening I have two different offer letters I'd like to make you aware of and hopefully gain your approval. The first is for Public Works Director. The gentleman's name is Gary Zuroff. Mr. Zuroff is from Glendive, Montana, where he has worked in their Public Works Department since 1982. He was the Assistant Public Works Director from 1982 to 1996, and then he was elevated to the Public Works Director position in 1996. So he comes to us with a great deal of experience in our region, and we're excited to have him. He would, assuming that the Commission agrees with the terms within the offer letter, he would begin his employ as of February 11th. If there's any questions, I would be happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Mr. Kessel. You have the information regarding the offer for Public Works Director. Do you have any comments or questions? Would there be a motion to approve the offer?
I make a motion to approve the offer for Mr. Zuroff.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Now, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. I should also mention that the interview process does include a great many interviews themselves. There's generally at least two different ones, including on-site and some done by Skype, and several different members of the staff are involved in that process. So Mr. Zuroff was the selection amongst many. Mr. Bill Watson, or William Watson, is the second, and he is our city engineer candidate. Mr. Watson comes to us also with a well-qualified list of accomplishments in the field of engineering. He's currently the city engineer and public works director in Alamogordo, New Mexico. It's a community of between 25 and 30,000 people, so a similar size as to where we are today. He also brings experience working in the county where Las Vegas is located, so he has a great deal of experience in fast-growing areas and has dealt with development in that fast-paced environment. So we're excited to have Mr. Watson aboard, assuming you approve the offer letter this evening. His start date would be on or before March 11th. And with that, I'll have any questions. Oh, I should mention that Mr. Watson would have to take a test to make sure that he's a registered engineer. We've given him 1 year to make sure that he does pass that test and become a registered engineer. If he does not, then his employment with the City of Dickinson would end. He's well aware of those terms and has accepted them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kessel. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Kessel?
Mr. Kessel, the public probably isn't aware that you had a process with the city engineering candidates where some of the public could come in and meet them and ask questions. Same thing with Public Works Director, or did we just do that with the city engineering candidate?
Commissioner Jackson, we just did that with the city engineer candidate. We brought in several developers and other people so they could meet all of our city engineer candidates. And I also discussed with most of those people in attendance, who their how their thoughts lied, and I'm glad to say that there was consensus even amongst that group. So Mr. Watson comes to us with a great many recommendations.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
I'll move that we approve the offer letter to Mr. Watson.
I'll second that.
We have the motion and the second. Additional discussion? No discussion, we'll vote. Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
President Johnson, if I could offer one more update.
Yes.
I'm not as excited to note that our deputy city administrator candidates, we didn't have as good a luck there. We did have two candidates that we interviewed. One of them withdrew before the final interview. We did continue with the interview of the final candidate. Upon calling to make an offer to that candidate, she accepted a position in a different community, and so that meant that we have to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, with the Deputy City Administrator position. So what I'd like to do is bring back a proposal to the City Commission at our next Commission meeting with regard to the Deputy City Administrator position. Just an update.
Thank you, Mr. Kessel. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, we'll move along then to item C. This is the Internal Revenue Services Compensation Review, and Finance Director Johnson will present this item.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. In October, we were chosen at random to receive an IRS employment tax audit for the year 2010. The fieldwork occurred from October 16th through the 18th, and the documents that you have in your packet include the final audit report and the assessment agreement form. The tax amount that was assessed for 2010 is $34,950. The majority of this assessment is based on personal use of company vehicles. The city does make vehicles available to certain positions that have demonstrated business need, but any mileage commuting from home to work is considered personal use under the IRS code and should be taxable to the employee. We will be examining our company vehicle policy to make sure we're complying with all IRS regulations, which will include taxing employees for any personal use going forward. There's also an amount included in the assessment for a $25 annual contribution that the city makes to the West River Community Center membership. This benefit is also taxable to employees, and we will be treating it as such going forward, but this only accounts for $453 of the total assessment. The audit did examine all employment tax areas, including our pension contributions, contracted labor, meals, and travel. And there were other changes that were suggested for our HR policy, but no other areas required a tax assessment. Are there any questions?
Mrs. Johnson, when do you think you'll be complete with your review of either our existing vehicle policies or lack thereof, and when do you think you could come back then to the commission and report on what's changed?
We were actually in the middle of a process of reviewing our entire HR policy and had planned to bring the entire document, and we expected that to take several more months. I believe we will be pulling this piece out and bringing that forward separately so that we're complying as soon as possible. So I expect in the next, hopefully by the end of March, we should have something that we can bring forward.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Okay, would there be a motion to accept this report?
So move.
Second.
With the motion, the second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. So we're going to go to item D. This is that North Dakota DOT letter that I referred to, and I think this is regarding the bypass. And Mr. Jackson, would you like to make some comments regarding this item to begin with?
You know, I think Mr. Kessel's prepared to start this. I can sure jump in if needed.
Okay.
Thank you, President Johnson. Mr. Jackson, the state has been reviewing and has employed HDR, a engineering company, to help them out with trying to decide the ultimate layout of the truck reliever route and truck bypass connecting Highway 22 to the Interstate 94 on the northwest side of Dickinson. They have had multiple public input hearings over the course of several months. They've gathered thoughts. They've reviewed and incorporate those thoughts into several options that appear before you this evening. The DOT, on a conference call, has asked us to endorse one of these options so that they can proceed with letting the design and bid of these projects. Their timing is they'd like to bid these this year, so construction can start yet this year. There are 3 options that are before us today to review. They are also asking the county to be involved in the process and endorse one of the routes as well. The 3 routes, as they are presented, the first one is called 4B. I apologize to the public who is maybe watching this on TV at a later date that I don't have an overhead for you. I'll do my best to try to explain where the route goes. Alternative 4B would connect Highway 22 at what is 33rd Street Southwest today, travel west approximately 1.5 miles, and then begin a what I'll call lazy curve to the south, and then approximately 1 mile after the beginning of that southern bend in the road, it would connect with what is titled today 34th Street Southwest. It would then continue on a western direction for about 1.5 miles, and then start another curve to the south, ultimately connecting 116th Avenue Southwest with a new interstate exchange at that location. 116th is commonly known in Stark County and the Dickinson area as Stronsky Road. For those of you who are familiar with Stronsky Road, the interstate exchange would be at approximately that location, maybe slightly to the east of where Stronsky Road goes under the interstate. It would also then provide a reliever route that would follow that same east-west portion where it connects with 33rd, and as I mentioned, after about 1.5 miles to the west, it bends to the south. There'd be a connection about halfway through there that would bring a southern route along 113th Avenue Southwest and connect with the existing Interstate 59. That's alternative 4B. The next alternative is what they are titling 5C. I'll try to explain that route. That one begins at 33rd Street Southwest, travels in a westerly direction for approximately 3.5 miles, and then begins a diagonal to the south and west from that 3.5 mile point. That diagonal takes about 1.5 miles before it reaches what is now it'd be right in between 34th and 35th Street. And then it connects with 116th Avenue and also travels south, connecting with the interstate at exactly the same location that I described in option 4B. There's also a truck reliever route, also along 113th Avenue, traveling north and south. And the intersection there is a T intersection. So it's just a slightly different route. The next one is 5A. This, I believe, is the route that has the least amount of wetlands impact. It has the least amount of property impacts. It is the most expensive route, but not to a great degree more. They were all within a very tight window, so although it is the most expensive, it's in the ballpark of the other 3. This route also connects at 33rd Street, or just south of 33rd Street Southwest, travels to the west for 4.5 miles, and then makes a tight turn to the south, what I'm calling tight as in comparison to the others. It still takes about 1/2 mile to make the full turn to the south, and then follows 116th down to the same intersection that has been described in all 3 of these alternatives. The road is planned to be traveled at 65 miles an hour. That is what their intentions are. So this would be a high-speed road, looking at as few intersections as possible. It also has a truck reliever route option that would follow 113th Avenue as it connects with the east-west portion of the route from 33rd and 113th. The DOT has indicated they'd like to bid that reliever route in May of this year and begin construction shortly thereafter. They would bid the new interstate exchange in July and hopefully start construction shortly thereafter. The bypass route would probably be constructed in the next biennium. That would not be constructed in 2013 or 14. Most likely, it'd be constructed in 2015. The first mile or so from of the reliever route from the existing interstate intersection north to just past what we call 21st Street Southwest would be an urban section road. As you continue north on that road, it's most likely going to be a rural section road. So there will be significant differences in how it's constructed along that path. But I believe that this is the route that that has been endorsed, that they would like to move forward with, and the input, preliminary input anyways, from city and county is this may be the best. There's positives and negatives, of course, about all the routes, but since this one has the least amount of property impacts, the least amount of wetlands impacts, it may be the best route. So with that introduction, Commissioner Jackson, if you have any further comments, I would yield the floor to the commission.
You know, I don't have much to add. Maybe to summarize, the public should just know that all three options have as their connection on Highway 22, 33rd Street. All three options. All three options also have the same connection on I-94 at 116th or the Stronsky Road. The reason that we're looking at the alternative that we are, the reasons are two. The other two alternatives have much more dramatic effects on landowners, rural landowners, than the alternative that we're looking at tonight. The second reason is that the other two alternatives both have 3 curves instead of just the one curve that our chosen alternative will have. So those are the two reasons. I think the rest has been explained well, and nothing else to add.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. What the deal, as I understand it, the county favors alternative 5A, as I think Commissioner Jackson does, and I've sat in on some of the meetings also with the DOT, and I'd have to say that I would favor 5A also. And I think what we're looking for tonight is, as commissioners, if you agree with the alternative 5A, then we can endorse this letter.
I agree.
Mr. Jackson, just to clear up, 116th would be developed and constructed prior to 113th?
No, just the other way around.
The other way around.
The initial construction will be 113th, and then the 2 miles, I think it is, back to Highway 22. They will apparently build about a half a mile north and south of the new interchange with the interchange project, which will also start this year.
Okay. On the other two alternatives, 4B and 5C, it affects more landowners. Are they contacted prior to this here already?
I can't tell you how much contact the DOT has done. I know they're in the process of getting formal right-of-way as we speak. There have been a number of public meetings, I know that, and a lot of those landowners have attended those public meetings.
Well, I think that 5A is the more simpler one, and at least I'd have no problem supporting 5A.
Thank you, Commissioner Steiner. Commissioner Oltmans, any comments?
Just a general comment with 5A. What I guess is most striking about is that it primarily runs along section lines, so you're not cutting into people's properties or near their homes. You're going along a route that is semi already there. You're just adding the pavement and the safety features of having a reliever route or a bypass route. And so this one sticks out in my mind as the least intrusive and probably the safest route and most direct route as well, with the least amount of impact.
I think you summed it up very nicely. I think that was really the general consensus of those that were representing the county, and I think Commissioner Jackson and myself from the city perspective. I feel that the North Dakota DOT has treated Stark County and the city of Dickinson very well. You know, in addition to what we're laying out here, I know they're evaluating engineering proposals for either an underpass or an overpass at the intersection of States Avenue and the railroad. That's a very necessary project. So we're likely to see some very major projects here all during the next 4 years in Stark County and the city of Dickinson. So, Mr. Kessel, you look like you're going to add something.
Well, based on those comments, President Johnson, I just also want to remind everyone that the majority of the costs for these projects would be borne by the state of North Dakota. That first mile that I mentioned on 113th, we just brought a traffic study to them today that indicates the traffic in that first section of road is much higher than we originally intended. In fact, as we sat with the DOT today, if those predictions are accurate, that would be the busiest road in North Dakota, bar none, other than interstate, between Fargo and Moorhead. So they're reviewing the 5-lane urban section that is currently proposed for that first mile off of the interstate. So bottom line is, this is a big expense for the state, and I would concur that they've treated us very, very well.
Generally speaking, Mr. Kessel, will the city have any cost share in this, or is it fully funded by the state?
I'm not sure that we can talk as holistically about it. I think there has been a interstate exchange. They've asked us to not necessarily provide city dollars on that interstate exchange, but they have asked that there be some private partnership or some revenue to help them with that exchange. That's a $20 to $25 million project in and of itself. They're very expensive. But they have not asked for a cost share yet on the reliever route or the bypass route, which is, again, you're talking about 8 miles, over 8 miles of roadway on the bypass, and then an additional, 2.5 miles of road on the reliever route. So this is a very expensive project, and one that I'd be very impressed if we didn't have any local share.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly the stance we're advocating.
Any other comments? So, Mr. Colling or Mr. Kessel, what would be the appropriate motion here?
Mr. President, I believe your motion would be to endorse the route selection that you would prefer for this project, and authorize you as the commission president to sign the letter endorsing that option to the North Dakota Department of Transportation.
Okay, using Mr. Colling's language and inserting alternative 5A in would be the one that we've been talking about. Would anyone care to move that motion?
I would make that motion.
Second.
We have the motion, the second, but is there more discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oltmans?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Okay, we have some timetable agenda items, and at 5 o'clock, we have some special awards, and we'll call on Chief Seebach to introduce these. And I think I have to join the chief at the podium.
President Johnson, Commissioners. On the evening of January 5th, 2013, around 8:30 p.m., Presley Peasy, Robin Nunley, and Casey Pelton responded to a call for help from 209 F Street in Heartland Village. They found a mobile home on fire and a woman outside, informing them that her husband was still inside. They were soon joined by Dickinson Police Officer Jeremy Mosier. Their actions that night resulted in successfully locating the occupant and saving his life. In recognition of their actions, we would like to present these gentlemen with the Mayor's Commendation Award. I understand Presley is not here tonight, but if I could ask Robin Nunley, Casey Pelton, and Officer Mosier to step forward, and Mayor Johnson, if you please. And you are Robin Nunley. Robin. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You're
Thank you. Jeremy, you just stay here. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, gentlemen, for what you've done. And now, please, Chief Dossinger.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Commission. On behalf of Officer Mosier's actions that night, he was nominated for the North Dakota Peace Officers Association Bravery Award. On behalf of the North Dakota Peace Officers Association, I'd like the Mayor to present Officer Mosier with that award, please.
Well, I'm not much for words, so to speak. Thank you. These guys did an awesome job. Not very many citizens will step up and help other people in danger nowadays. People feel for their own well-being. I just felt like we did what we needed to do, and it came out good. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer. Man of few words, but obviously a man of action, so thank you. Is there anything else on this? Okay. We'll go to our 5:10 timetable agenda item. This is a special use permit. It's one involving MDU. I have a conflict of interest there, so I will step aside and let Commissioner Jackson conduct this item of business.
Okay, as the mayor said, the item is a special use permit for an MDU substation that we need to consider tonight, and I suspect that Mr. Cortan is going to explain the detail to us.
That is correct, Mr. President, fellow commissioners. This is a special use permit for a new electric substation. The property is located on 7 acres westerly of State Avenue and to the south of Broadway Street. The Planning and Zoning Commission and city staff recommend approval contingent upon the 11 recommended conditions of approval. Those are noted within your summary and are attached as part of the adopting resolution. And with that, I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions of Mr. Cortan? Any questions? Mr. Colling, we have a resolution number.
Mr. Jackson, this would be Resolution 06-2013.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would move to approve resolution number 06-2013.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Dukart?
Aye.
Mr. Oltman?
Aye.
And I will vote aye, and the record should note that the mayor abstains, and that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We'll go back to the regular agenda, and item E is reports, and we'll ask Mr. Kessel to give his reports.
Thank you, President Johnson and Commissioners. Property taxes obviously are a point of contention in North Dakota. Measure 2 was an indication of that, and although it did go down to defeat, it certainly raised the level of the conversation regarding property taxation. We've had letters to the editor and even a gentleman come before you a couple meetings ago to talk about his individual assessments. In light of this, I've asked Assessor Hirschfeld to do a little research regarding property taxes, residential specifically, in regards to the city of Dickinson. So if you bear with me, I'd like to read a portion of his memo and summarizing the research that he did. He researched the changes to property taxes of approximately 5,723 residential properties within the city of Dickinson. The data includes property taxes from all taxing entities and not just those incurred from mills levied by the city of Dickinson. As a result, over 2,645 of those parcels received no increase or a decrease in their property taxation. 910 received between 0 and 5% increase, 565 a 5 to 10% increase, 901 a 10 to 25% increase, 406 a 25 to 50% increase, 83 50% to 100, and 213 100% or more. Now, as I mentioned in that chart, most of the parcels within the city of Dickinson received a minimal, if any, increase in property taxation. Approximately 1,450 parcels received an increase of between 5 and 25% in an effort to equalize property taxes. These properties are considered to have previously been valued at less than their fair and equitable values. Properties with an increase of between 25 and 50% will also be a continuation of those that have been undervalued historically, as well as seeing parcels with positive value changes such as new additions or new garages. In other words, they've improved their property in some capacity. Although there may be exceptions to that rule, properties with more than 50% increase generally are those with significant improvements to their property, such as new construction, and include the properties coming off of the 2-year new home exemption. Residents losing their homestead credit and veterans exemptions also have a significant increase in their tax bill. So I just wanted to provide this information to you this evening so that you had a better understanding of property taxation within the city of Dickinson, and recognize that, yes, property taxes for some people did go up, but the vast majority, property taxes either stayed the same or went down. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them for you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kessel. Any comments or questions? All right. Anything else to report?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments in general for the city administrator? Not, we'll move on then to planning, and we have one item there. It's the I-94 Industrial Park, 3rd edition, and Mr. Kutan will take us through that.
Mr. President, this is a final plat request for the I-94 Industrial Park 3rd Edition. This is located immediately to the east of the existing industrial park. It is also situated southerly of Highway 10 and easterly of 38th Avenue. It is approximately 19 acres, and the Planning and Zoning Commission and city staff recommend approval with one condition to be attached to the adopting resolution, that the dedicated road shall be paved. Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Kutan. You've heard his introduction. Are there comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. Mr. Kutan, I know that at Planning and Zoning, pretty adamant about the paving issue. Are we going to be doing anything to make the developer give assurances that that road will be paved? Do we handle that with building permits, with certificate of occupancy that's outside the city limits?
To answer your question, Commissioner Jackson, and the same process that we have within the city. So they can get their final plat approval for it, then they'll be obligated to complete the road prior to any C of Os, either temporary or final, for construction of the plat, or within the plat.
Okay. We think the owners are aware of that?
Yes, as you know, this discussion has went back and forth for many, many months, and they're definitely aware of the paving issue. I know that they had talked about before about the prior commitments to pave the existing subdivision, and I guess they've come to a conclusion that that will have to be done at a future date. But within the plat, they are aware of it, and it'll be part of the adopting resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Mr. Coley, is this Resolution 7?
That's correct.
Would there be a motion regarding Resolution 7-2013?
I'll move that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. You have some reports?
Yes, Mr. President. The last item I have tonight is the final adoption, or at least going through the adoption procedure for the 2035 Roadmap to the Future Comprehensive Plan. KLJ is finishing up the last of the comments. I had put in the packet materials that we were looking at the next meeting to have an early start date, to have a joint Planning Commission, City Commission meeting. I looked through the requirements, and we would have to reschedule that meeting to the first meeting in March. I won't be able to make the statutory requirements for public noticing within that short period of time. So I would like to get your permission, or at least acceptance, to have that the same time that we had proposed for the February 19th meeting, to have that for the March 4th meeting. Have that have the meeting start at 3:30, 1 hour prior to the regularly scheduled meeting. Have a joint Planning Commission, City Commission meeting. Hear public testimony, comments with respect to that, and then have the Planning Commission provide a recommendation for approval, and then subsequent to that, to have the City Commission go for the first reading and make a motion as well. So we won't be able to make the original February 19th date due to noticing. But I'd like to move that to March 4th with your permission.
Any objections to starting at 3:30 on March 4th? Okay, well, we'll do that, and then our March 4th meeting will start at 3:30.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That was PM, wasn't it?
That is correct.
Yes. Okay. Well, it is 5:18. We have a 5:25 timetable agenda item, and that's the last thing remaining on our formal agenda. So I'm going to ask at this time if there's anyone from the public who wants to address the commission on any item other than the 5:25 item. If there is, you may come to the podium now, state your name, and we'll hear your comments.
Matthew Menzie, representing the airport. President, Commissioners, wasn't officially on the agenda, and I understand Mr. Cameron has announced already, but I just wanted to see if there were any questions concerning the announcement that United's going to be offering 2 round trips starting June 6th.
When will you come and ask for more money, Matt?
I don't know right now. So
how does it impact you seriously?
The airport's, in order to accommodate the regional jet, we're going to be looking at 50 passengers with United and then potentially 25 with Great Lakes. So we're going to be looking at 75 passengers in the terminal at any given time. Before that, we are going to have to put a modular building on the south side to expand the sterile area. And from there, you'll actually go out to the plane from that modular building because we don't have enough room to accommodate a boarding area counter, is what they are referred to, where they have a scanner and everything, you can go out there. So we're going to be adding a modular building there, and then we're also going to be looking at adding a modular skid unit by baggage, out of the baggage room. We're anticipating if everybody carried one bag, that's more baggage than we can handle in the building, the current building. So we'll be looking at a building there as well, just to put bags in, and then the ground handlers would come in and grab the bags and then take them out to the plane. The flow, I think, is going to be extremely tight, but there's not a lot that we can do with the flow in the building other than the sterile area. We are going to be adding a ticket counter to the terminal as well. So that will hopefully maybe reduce some of the congestion. And one of the things that I'm really excited about with United coming in is the technology. They're going to have they want to bring in the kiosks for self-ticketing. We're able to actually kind of get those off to the side, so it might reduce the congestion right by the ticket counters. And then one of the other really unique things now with United, we'll be able to do online check-in. So passengers can actually, if they only have a carry-on, they can actually check in before they get to the airport.
What kind of reduction in flight time will the jet offer versus what you currently have?
Right now with Great Lakes, it's about 2 hours and 10 minutes, wheels up to wheels down. United is going to be about hour and a half, so about half hour, 40-minute reduction in time, which will be very nice. And I think the biggest thing is that it is a regional jet, so it'll be a little bit quieter flight for the passengers.
So there'll be just one flight with United?
We'll have 2 round trips. They will, I don't know the times yet. Well, I have the times, I don't have them on the top of my head right now. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Kessel?
Matt, how is this going to affect, if at all, service that's currently being offered by Great Lakes?
If it's anything like what happened in Williston, Great Lakes numbers will drop considerably. And I tried making calls to Great Lakes. I was unable to get in contact with anybody today. I do foresee possibly a drop in a round trip being dropped with Great Lakes. It's also something that we may want to, we're also talking with our advisors of whether or not we want to talk with Great Lakes about a second hub. So we'll know more on that when our advisors get back to us on Wednesday. They're doing the research for us now.
Do you have any idea what fares will look like having United in?
I don't. I know that the fares in Williston were a little bit higher. We're probably going to be very similar to what they are in Bisbee. So I would assume a round trip's going to be anywhere from $600 to $700.
Any other questions for Matt?
It's exciting.
Yes, it is. Yep. It's very exciting to be at the forefront here to bring in regional jets. So we're kind of heading into a new era with the airport.
And your current runway will accommodate this size jet?
The Embraer 145, which is the regional jet that they'll be bringing in, is rated landing for 43,000 pounds. Our runway is rated for 42,000 pounds, and we actually just had a study done, which actually brings it up to about 43,000 pounds. So we actually will meet the landing weight requirement. We won't meet their takeoff with full passengers, full fuel. That will be about 7,000 pounds heavier, but the engineers that we've talked to have said it will have minimal impact.
Thanks to Senator Hoeven and you and your board. I know you've worked really hard on this, trying to get it here.
Yes, and we thank Senator Hoeven for all his efforts in assisting us. So, if there's no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, it is 5:25. We have a 5:25 timetable agenda item. This is the home builders exemption review. Mr. Kessel, anything you'd like to say by way of introduction?
Thank you, President Johnson. Commission, before you this evening is a topic that you've heard before. The City of Dickinson at one time offered both a 2-year builder's exemption and a 2-year home buyer's exemption. You did eliminate the builder's exemption, I believe, 2 years ago, so the home buyer's exemption continues to exist. That exemption is for a maximum of 2 consecutive years, and it exempts the first $100,000 in property value from local taxes. The reason that this has come to light again is because of the vast increase in home building that's occurred in the City of Dickinson. We went from issuing 200 approximately housing unit permits 2 years ago to over 1,500 this year. And most specifically, almost 600 of those were new housing permits. So the value, if you take 600 homes times our mill rate of around 314, just under that, it means that the City of Dickinson, the school district, the park district, and the county are foregoing revenue that is almost $850,000 a year in value. As we just discussed a little bit earlier in the meeting tonight, property value or property taxes are something that is at the forefront of most residents' discussion. And so these exemptions that are provided therefore mean that others within the city have to bear the brunt or the cost of services that the city offers. So before you this evening then is a resolution that would eliminate the home buyer's exemption in 2015, thereby allowing anybody who has been promised the home buyer's exemption, or at least been used to the home buyer's exemption, maybe purchased a home recently with that understanding, could fully execute the 2-year exemption, and then after that it would no longer exist. It does mean that anybody who purchased a home in 2014 would be eligible for a 1-year exemption. So that's, I believe, summarizes the resolution in front of you, and I would certainly yield the floor to Attorney Coling if there's anything else or anything I may have mischaracterized.
Mr. President, Commissioners, just one thing to add. The exemption that's provided for new home buyers is a state code authorized exemption. It's in Century Code, but it requires the action of a local governing body in order to carry that exemption into effect. The state legislation allows you as a governing body to eliminate that exemption at any time. So you do have statutory authority from Century Code in order to eliminate the exemption if you deem that to be the best course.
Thank you, Mr. Coling and Mr. Kessel. I think the intention of having the timetable agenda item for this was also to allow additional public input. So at this time, we'll declare the public hearing open. Anyone who wishes to comment regarding this topic may do so. Just come to the podium, state your name, and we'll hear your comments.
My name is Rex Cook. I have been on the commission when it was going to be reduced. I never did see any reason for it personally. If it's put on for home building to encourage home building, it certainly has been a great success because you apparently have more home building than you can take care of. But I think you're way late in even eliminating it, so I'd be much in favor of eliminating it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Anybody else wish to comment? Okay, if there's nobody else who wishes to comment, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Mr. Coling, what is the resolution number here?
Mr. President, this will be Resolution 08-2013.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'm going to refrain from voting just because of my position with the Realtors.
Because of what?
Because I'm on the board for the Realtors.
I don't know that that's a conflict of interest. I'd defer to Mr. Coling.
Mr. President, Commissioner Dukart, state law on conflicts of interest allows individual members to determine their own conflicts of interest. Ms. Dukart believes she has a conflict of interest. She is obligated to declare that and then not vote or participate in voting on that matter. The rest of the commission, if you so desire, may take a vote and allow her to vote on the matter in case you wish her to do so. But barring that, it is Ms. Dukart's obligation to declare her conflict and not vote if she believes she has one.
I don't see where you have financial conflict here.
Mr. President,
Mr. Steiner.
I would move we allow Mrs. Dukart the privilege of voting on this resolution.
We have a motion to allow Mrs. Dukart to vote. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have the motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, we're going to vote on the motion, but Mr. Colling, does she get to vote on this motion? I'm assuming she does.
She does not.
Well, she doesn't, okay.
The remainder of the commission who take action on this.
Sure, okay. So we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Ullman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and motion carries. Mrs. Dukart, you get the vote. Unless, you know, you can convince us that you have a financial interest here, which...
No.
Okay, so the issue then is Resolution 08-2013. Is there a motion regarding this resolution?
Move to approve, Mr. President.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have the motion to approve and the second. Any discussion?
Mr. President, just for clarification, this resolution is going to be effective for taxable years beginning after January 1, 2015. So if anybody takes out a permit for building a home this year, they will still get the balance until January 15th, or correctly?
Commissioner Steiner, I guess that would all depend upon when that home is constructed and purchased. It's all, the triggering event here is the purchase of a home, not a construction of a home. So they would be eligible for a property tax relief up until 2015. So if a home is purchased in 2014, yes, they are eligible for a one-year exemption.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Dukart?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so the motion carries. That completes the agenda. I'll ask again, is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the commission? If so, you can come to the podium, state your name, we'll hear your comments. There's no one from the public. Chair to entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I should ask, excuse me, are there any comments from commissioners? Forgot. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning?